Thanks for listening to the Unscripted Dreams podcast. If you enjoy the show and want more, please join us on Patreon for exclusive episodes and videos. If you're looking for episode clips, please check out our YouTube page at the Unscripted Dreams podcast. Enjoy the show.
As we know, life is full of surprises, both good and bad, and the day-to-day journey is full of unforeseen obstacles, and sometimes it's hard to see our way through. Beyond the normal mundane or where unscripted dreams live, join us for thought-provoking discussions and interviews to help us navigate through the fog and create our own path. We are the Unscripted Dream Podcast, operating outside the margins to motivate and inspire our audience. So today's episode consists of grind mode. So a lot of people might not know exactly what that is. And
Grind season?
Grind season, grind mode. I like to refer to it as grind mode, but it's really grind season because it is that time of year. So my bad, it's grind season. And really what that means is it's the time of the year to consistently work to achieve a goal. So that means if you're sitting on the couch eating potato chips, hopefully you're making money by trading or something, or doing some type of online trading, or you got bots doing the work for you and you're grinding passively. But ideally you're getting off your ass and you're actually making things happen for yourself, so your life doesn't turn out to be as bad as you talk about it, or it may perceive from your point of view. So the whole idea of just grind season is just living up to your full potential, living up to the hype, doing all the things that you say you're going to do, even stumble upon certain things you never anticipated to heighten your value. The whole idea is you want to lead a life where your reputation exceeds you. At least I do. I don't know if anybody else does, but I mean, you always want to leave a good taste in people's mouths. I know that's not 100% possible, but one thing is I don't want people to deny what I'm capable of as far as productivity. I'm trying to be a producer. Actually, it's not trying. I am a producer, and that's how I want to be valued. What you think, Marcus?
All right, Joe. So you started to go into, what was interesting about that opening that you gave is that you started to go into your mentality. I don't think that was what was intended as you were opening it up, but as you started to discuss it, you started to go into how you perceive things for you and what your mentality is as you go into whatever season this is for you. So the one thing with grind season, what was it you calling it, Joe? That you call it?
I call it grind mode, man.
Okay, grind mode. So the one thing that I think about is like it's a period of time. It's a period in time in which we make a decision to really lock in and get things done. It might be a position in which, or a time in which you decide to, hey, I'm gonna elevate the level of the things that I'm doing, the contributions that I'm making, the work that I'm doing, the things that I perform at, every day, or maybe the things that I don't do every day. I'm going to increase production in those departments. So, Joe, as you were getting into it and you starting to lock in, that's something that you have to kind of come to terms with the level of work that you want to do. And you have to have an understanding that, you're going to do some things and you're going to lock in a capacity in which you don't typically do. That's part of, grind season or grind mode, as Joe might say. So the one thing that, I wanted to address opening it up is these New Year's resolutions. And Joe, what are your thoughts on somebody having a New Year's resolution? Are you someone who has made a New Year's resolution in the past?
Well, I'm not going to say to the full extent of what I think about New Year's resolutions, because I have vulgar language for that.
Oh, okay.
But what I will say is I have made New Year's resolutions and I have acted on them. And it is another way to motivate yourself. But from my perspective, it shouldn't take a certain time of year to really realize that or come to that consensus. That's something that should be built into your regimen or your daily living anyways. Because if you waiting on a time period to implement a plan, especially one that you could already act on, what the hell is the point of having that? It doesn't make any sense. If you can go for it now, why don't you start now? What's the wait?
What is what? Joey make a good point, and I didn't know you were going to respond like that. I had a feeling you were going to respond like that. But all right, so when you look at New Year's resolutions, like I've made New Year's resolution before, same as you, Joe, and like it probably didn't work out. Whatever it was, it's been a long time since I've done it. But this is something that a percentage of the population do. So I mean, I feel like it's something that we should definitely address in this episode. And so like as I was doing my research for this episode, I mean, Joe, you and I, we've seen this firsthand. I'm sure people that are listening have seen this firsthand, but a high percentage, over 75% of people who make a New Year's resolution for themselves, they fail. And it's something that I commonly see. And one of my best, I got a few story times for this. So bear with me as I pull from personal experience.
Let them roll.
But like one of the things that I see is that, people make these resolutions. And one of the popular ones, maybe some of the most popular ones, are exercise, getting back into shape, saving money, being healthier. In general, these are some of the more popular resolutions that we have. And like you were saying, Joe, like if you identify something needs to be done, why are you waiting? Like, why are you waiting for the new year to go ahead and take action on that? So one of these things, like Joe, you and I, at particular points in our lives, I'm pretty confident this is where we aspire to be right now. But given certain circumstances, we might have taken a step back. But like going to the gym, like Joe, you and I, we're fixtures at the gym when things are normal. Like we're in there. Like that's something that we do.
That goes without saying, man. That's by law. That's a principle I live. I was in there religiously 3 times a week, sometimes 4 times a week. Like that's what kept me going. That's my motivation. Like that was my time to listen to my music. That was my time to get my Reader's Digest on, as far as like listening to what's going on in the world while I'm on the tread. And, I'm pumping out some therapeutic music, from anywhere from Tupac to a little bit of rock to whatever, man. And, I'm jamming out, pumping iron, so that was my whole thing, man. My whole goal was to always look good naked, man. And and I still look good naked, but you know what I'm saying? It's not there anymore, man. The definition gone and all of this stuff, because I'm big on health, and, I don't believe in put myself at risk and other people at risk with, I don't want that on my hands. So that's the reason why I'm in the predicament I'm in right now.
Yeah, Joe, you're justifying the advisory warning that is on the episodes on the show, but no. One of the things, and Joe, also, I'm gonna get if I remember, I'm gonna get back to the fact that you're going to the gym reading Reader's Digest, because you are not in the demographic for that publication, sir. So,
bro, that's just an example of like I'll get on there. And I know this is a joke, but you know what I'm saying? Like I'm on there and I'm reading anything. Like that's how I pass time, and that's how I actually educate myself.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So, Joe, you and I both know, we've never discussed this before, but whenever you go to the gym, like me, I was somebody like, I'm trying to go to the gym. Like I go to the gym. I used to go to the gym when I was bored. But going to the gym, for me, was something that was a part of my life. It's important for me to be, healthy. Things to change given what's, certain circumstances that are going on now. But, I would go to the gym, and one of the more annoying times of the year would be it would be this time of the year. It would be New Year's, because all these people who have made these resolutions to get into shape, they're in there. And I'm going to the gym at 4:00 in the morning. These folks are in there. They're on the machines that I usually use. They're messing with the free weights. They're on the bike that I like to get on the treadmill that I like to get on. And I'm irritated. I'm irritated by this.
Yep.
But one thing, Joe, and I know you know this, is that when you talk to people that are at the gym, after you've gone through this cycle, like I've gone through this cycle numerous times, is that by February, they're gone, bro. They're gone.
Sooner than that.
So, we know, like some of us that are in the gym and we're working out, we know that it's going to be a little bit crazy, a little bit not as enjoyable as the gym used to be. Because usually, I mean, when I go at 4 o'clock in the morning, like these are people that are serious about getting in there. We're committed to it and things like that. Even if you, I mean, any time of the day you go, I mean, you're committed to going that time of the day. But if you're a regular fixture at the gym, like maybe Joe and I are, you know who's in there at certain times, and like somebody new really stands out. So you got an influx of all these new people, and they're using the machines. And then after a series of years, and you start to develop, and you see the pattern, you know that these people aren't going to last that long, and they're just there because they made the New Year's resolution. And like for me, I'm just hoping that, like, I know you're going to drop off, and maybe when you drop off, I can go back to using that machine that I'm accustomed to having available first thing when I walk in at 4:30 in the morning, you know, to get my lift in and things like that. So Joe's shaking his head because I know he knows, but you know, that's one of the things, and that's one of the, I guess, you know, I like to tell people like tread cautiously when you're making a New Year's resolution, because there's so many factors that go into it, and there's a reason. Like back then, kind of seeing it, like being a little bit younger, it was just like, hey, I'm trying to work out. I'm not really concerned about other people. I'm just trying to work out, get my lifting, stay in shape, keep things going. And these other people that are kind of, I mean, bluntly, they're kind of in my way. They're in my way from doing what I usually do. So, but you know, you're going to fall off because the discipline's not there, and they're just doing it because like the date on the calendar changed, and that's really it. You know, they knew that they wanted to get healthy months before the year changed. They just randomly decided to like, hey, when the year changed, you know, they're going to drop that special at the gym. It's going to be a little bit cheaper for a month or two. There's going to be all these specials in place to incentivize you to get in the gym. I mean, the health market might be one of the greatest beneficiaries of the new year, probably more than any of the other markets that we have, because that's the opportunity, because they know people are going to make those resolutions. But Joe, what are your thoughts on that?
It's a numbers. It's about numbers. So like, you know, it's a business at the end of the day. So it became a fad where, you know, it's always been a thing where people always wanted to make plays or make money off of other people's insecurities. And that's literally what it comes down to. But my thing is, if you had this insecurity about how you look at yourself this whole time, why do you have to wait for a certain date to do it? And on top of that, why are you going to do it at a period where everyone's doing it? And that's just going to leave you less motivated, because y'all all in there, and the time you get in and get out is going to take forever in a day. It just doesn't add up. And that's why I get frustrated with it.
Yeah, because you know that, I mean, when you're in the gym every day and like multiple times a week, like for me, like one of my old challenges was to, because I went to the gym, I was going to like Lifetime Fitness back when I lived in Ohio. I miss Lifetime. I miss it. I miss being in there, but because we don't have that out here. For me, that's something that's important, to have a gym that you really enjoy going to. But, you know, I remember going to the gym, and one of my goals was I want to go at least minimum 20 days out of the month. You know, once at a certain point, something like my goal is to go every day, not to lift, because you can't build muscle and do all that stuff if you're lifting every single day. Like sometimes I'll just go there and just hoop, shoot around, just do cardio or something, you know, something like that. But, you know, just to set a goal to get in there consistently, and things like that. And plus, you know, if you're going to Lifetime, bro, that's money right there. It's probably one of the highest, like the most costliest gym memberships you might have. If you go to a Lifetime Fitness or something like that, most expensive gym membership I've ever had. But for me, it's a great experience. But like what you were saying, Joe, it's like you see people, they kind of fail, and you wonder why they're falling into that cycle of failure over and over and over again. You make a decision to get in shape. You want to get in shape, but you put it on like, oh, I'm going to do it on the new year, when, as I previously discussed, probably over 70% of those people who set that goal, they're failing. They're failing, you know. So, you know, one of the things that I think is, you know, you have to identify, like, why do so many people fail at that goal? You know, and I think as we talk about like grind season, you know, I think about it as like grinding, or would you say like grind mode? I think about it as an escalator. Like you go to the mall, right? Or you go to the airport. What's that thing at the airport that it's not an escalator, but it's like a conveyor that is propelling you from, one portion of the airport to another.
Yeah, it just speeds up the walking process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that's called, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, all right. So if you ever go to Atlanta airport, they have these trains and all this other stuff. Stuff's crazy, man. I almost failed. Almost. That thing took off. If you ever been to the airport in Atlanta, that thing is moving. I almost
Yes.
failed, bro. Like,
Don't have an open cup in your hand. I've seen it happen a couple of times.
but the point that I'm trying to get to is that even with the escalator, when you get on the escalator, that thing's already moving, right? So the escalator in this example that I'm trying to provide, the escalator is time. Time is always moving. When you step on the escalator, you have to be ready to move at the rate that the escalator is moving. And I've seen even myself, like, when you get off that escalator, if you're not paying attention, you're going to trip. Like, you're going to stumble a little bit. I've seen people fall. I've seen people fall getting on escalators. I've seen them fall getting off escalators. Depending on what age you are, you might think that's funny, but like, people get hurt doing that. So maybe as I've gotten older, it's not as dependent on your resiliency and your ability to bounce back will determine the level of humor that, someone might take from that. But, you have to be, I think one of the things is when we make a decision to set a resolution, is you're setting that resolution date. You're usually if you're tying it to a New Year's resolution, is that you might make a decision in November. Like, hey, I'm gonna not save my money. I'm gonna just keep eating snacks, sitting on the couch, eating all this other stuff, and I'm just gonna kick that resolution into like that change in my behavior at the beginning of the next year. But what happens is between that time you make that decision and the time that the new year rolls around, because time doesn't stop. Like, time keeps moving. It's like an escalator. It's continuous. It doesn't care what you're doing. Time is going to keep moving. So you have to make a decision during that time, the time that you determine to make that resolution, and the time before you actually have to execute on it. I mean, the decision has to be made of what you're actually going to do, what you're actually going to do mentally to get yourself prepared to engage in this change in behavior that you want for yourself. And if you're not ready, because time doesn't care how you feel. Time doesn't care, if the sky is blue, if the sky is dark. It doesn't, like, time doesn't care about that. Time is continuous and it's always moving. So if you take some setbacks in your life and then you have set in your mind that you're going to start to get back in shape on January 1, whatever year it is, and you're not ready, when that escalator of time gets to where it's supposed to be, you're going to fall. You're going to fall when you get off because you're not ready. You're sitting there doing something else and you weren't prepared. So you have to, I think it's important that we identify what the things are that are preventing us from starting today. Because, Joe, let me ask you a question. All right, so if someone came up to you and they said, hey, I got an opportunity for you to make $15,000 a month, when can you start? Based on, and this would be a circumstance in which your skills align with the opportunity. So it's not a question of if it's something that's for you. It is for you. It is for you. So if someone said, like, hey, I got an opportunity for you to make 15K a month, what would your response be? How soon would you be willing to start? Most people.
Off bat.
You'd be ready.
I would be ready. I would be ready to jump on that next thing smoking.
Exactly. So you would probably tell that person, can I start today, tomorrow? You probably say, I could have started yesterday. So, that's the thing. So when it's something that will benefit you, you have to make a decision as to what you are going to do to get yourself right mentally, and whatever those roadblocks might be, to get yourself in a position to where you're ready to go and you're ready to pursue whatever the goals you set for yourself. Because if you find yourself in a situation where you continuously set a resolution and a goal, you continue to fail, you've created this cycle of failure with your resolutions. And you have to have, the presence of mind to realize, like, what is the reason why this continues, to occur, and, really, really actively start to work to identify, which could be a myriad of issues. But, what are your thoughts on that, Joe? Do you have anything specific that I, maybe have not identified?
No, I like your analogy with the escalator, how you keep up. And I just want to say, man, we all human. Like, it's okay to drop the ball because it might be something you're not used to. So, say, like, your goal is to lose X amount of pounds, maybe 100 pounds in 365 days or less. We know you gonna mess up. We know you gonna eat some Krispy Kreme in between there. We know we just know you gonna have some off days or you got a dedicated cheat day, which is just ridiculous. Like it happens. But the question is when you fail, how fast can you fail and get back up? Like how resilient are you? That's the whole point of grind season, which I call grind mode. It's all about resilience.
Yeah. So Joe, all right. So I got a lot of stories. We're gonna do a hindsight. We're gonna end up doing a hindsight on this because I got a lot in the bag on this one. But
Oh, without a doubt.
so all right. So this week, today's Thursday. We're recording on Thursday. This week I've read 4 books. 4 books this week. And no, I did not read the Dr. Seuss collection. All right. All right. I did not what I did.
That's
Okay.
good to know.
So I read what did I read this week. I read a Tyler Perry book that my brother sent me. I read a book on propaganda. I read a book on fighting misinformation. I read a book on manipulation. So, I finished these books. I mean, they're audio books, so I'm more so completing them. I'm not reading them, but I'm taking notes along the way as I read these books, as I go through the books. Now, someone might say, like, hey, I want to read 50 books this year, right? They want to go through, they want to complete 50 books this year. And easily, if I wanted to, I could just start a book, let it go. And when it's finished, it's finished. Or I could turn the speed up to like 2.0, 3, and just let it go and let it finish. And then I could say that, yeah, I finished those books, but what did I really take away from those books? So,
Yeah, you didn't you didn't grasp any concepts more than likely.
yeah, so, you got to be honest with yourself. So for me, I'm really intentional about what I'm doing with books. I'm not pleased with the amount of books that I read last year, just because for me, reading provides me an outlet. If you're someone that identifies with, like for me, I'm somebody that's always in my head. So I'm always thinking about something. And sometimes reading occupies my mind and part of my mind that like one wanders and daydreams and things like that. So, for me, it's like if I read more, I'm making more connections to new concepts. I'm having greater understanding of certain concepts. And it also allows me to view things in different perspectives, which in turn allows me to relate to people in a way that perhaps I wasn't able to do before, and to see life and to see certain aspects of how we live in different ways and I haven't seen. And if like I'm gonna continue to do the work and continue to, you know, try to run a business, continue to, try to be a life coach, continue to do a podcast, and I need to constantly be evolving. So if I'm not exposing myself to new ideas, new concepts, then what am I really doing if I'm not getting better? If I don't get better, the people that I provide services for, the content that I provide is going to plateau. And there's only so much that I can do. But if I have the capacity to relate to people in a different way, or maybe see things in a different angle that I haven't seen it before, then that will be beneficial to me, and that'll be beneficial to the people that I provide a service to in the future. So for me, yes, I've read 4 books and I've completed 4 books this week. I've taken notes on those books, and I can give you cliff notes and things that I've taken notes on and things like that. But tomorrow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my notes. I'm going to take those notes out of my phone. I'm going to write those notes into a notebook that I keep to kind of keep a handle on the things that I read and the concepts that I really want to transfer and apply to my life, the things that I really want to have an understanding on, and I really want to be able to use on a continual basis and be able to pull and be able to provide insights to other people on. So it's one thing to read a book like, yeah, I can say like, yeah, I'm gonna read like 50, 100 books, but those are empty. It's like empty stats. Like when a player, like if you're watching basketball and the player has 60 points, but they got blown out by 30, those are empty stats. It doesn't matter. So, we have to be conscious of what we're doing, and we have to the main thing is just to be intentional. Be intentional about what we do. And that's the thing with reading these books, is that I'm very intentional about what I'm doing. I'm very intentional about the time that it takes. It's going to take for me to take the notes from that are out of my phone and put them into my notebook that I keep for all the books that I read, and really try to apply those things, and those things will be applicable to like the future episodes, and they'll be in the resources that I eventually build to help other people. So, you have to like, I think we got to like really kind of sometimes get away from like the shiny thing that's associated with it. You read 50 books, so what? Can you apply it? Can you tell me what you read? Like, it doesn't hold any value unless you can really apply it. It's just, they're empty stats. They're empty stats if you're doing things for that reason. It's like saying I went to the gym and then they saying these people, bro, go to the gym and they just walk on it. They might be just like walk on a treadmill for an hour just to say they went to the gym. Maybe they don't want to go home, or but there's somebody like, that happens. So, I think it's like really being intentional. And that's the thing about it, is that like, we need to be intentional about what we're doing. And we need to identify the things that are inhibiting us to pursue the goals we make, whether that's like the resolutions or any goal we set throughout the year. What are your thoughts, Joe?
I'm just going to say that it doesn't matter what pace you're going, you know what I'm saying? As long as you have some type of objective, that's what it's all about. It doesn't matter what pace you're going at. The whole intent of grind season and grind mode is you're actually stepping forward in the right direction. We're not telling you it's a race, because it's definitely a marathon. What Marcus is trying to say in so many words, but it sounds extreme because he's very passionate about the work that he puts in and day out. That's just his personality. He goes above and beyond. Other people might be hellbound on being procrastinators. That's fine too. But as long as you're stepping forward in the right direction and chipping away at where you're trying to be, that's what matters. Like, who the fuck care? Excuse me. Who cares what everybody else thinks? It's all about your progression, and are you happy with that? If you're not happy with that, then you're selling yourself short. Now, granted, there's some situations that happen that's out of your control, and that's a whole different type of conversation. But if you play a huge part into prohibiting your productivity, as far as being a producer out there, that's on you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Joe, is there anything that you're working on right now that you like to share?
I guess, man. I don't know what people care to listen to, but obviously it's this podcast, man. You and myself have put a lot of work into this, and we work in this every week as far as record, but not outside of recording. We schedule and think about marketing and coming up with creativity. Like, a lot of it comes with that. On outside of that, I work on my blog all the time as far as like thinking of like creative concepts of where people can grasp things, because there's a lot of things that I've noticed over time where my concepts or my thoughts and ideas don't match up with the status quo. So for me to give a message out that keeps people going, I have to really sit down and think about what I'm saying before I deliver to people. So I have to train myself to not necessarily dumb things down, but get it down to a point where people can actually break down what I'm really trying to say as far as contributing to the things for the benefit or the betterment of their life. Not to mention, man, I'm into music. So as therapy, I work on music. Right now, I'm working on 2 different musical projects right now. And by any means necessary, I'm not a singer. I'm not a rapper. I'm just a music producer, and I like what I like. So that's a whole nother adventure right there. It takes so many hours as far as like getting it to how you want to get it, as far as sound, productivity. If you're into the arts, which I am, you think about concepts as far as like how you can put the project together. For an example, the project I'm working on is 2 projects, Loops and Dreams, volume 1 and 2. And you got to think about like the itinerary of all the criteria that fits inside that musical project. And then you got to think about it from this perspective. I can't tell you what's good or what's bad, even though I'm going off of my creativity, but I need other people to give me some feedback on what's good. And what you do is you put structure around that. So when you put structure around anything you do, and you have other people and you put it in their hands, they can only shake so much out of what you're trying to get done. So that all flows into like grind mode and being productive. Like, I don't just do one thing, and I actually don't mind doing one thing, Most days I do try to do or stay at doing one thing, but none of my days are the same. I'm always doing something completely different than the day before. And that's just how my brain works. But, you know, grinding is its own animal. And that's just my way of how to balance everything, is by just doing something completely different than what you did the day before, but also within reason as far as like a schedule to keep you moving along. Like you can be doing so many things at once and move towards it in the right direction, but you got to make sure you know how to manage yourself well. So if you're going to manage yourself well, you got to make sure that you know, you got things scheduled out, whether you write it out, whether you can wake up and think about it, or if you go by feeling, which I do a combination of all three, you're going to be a bad person out here, and not literally bad, but like you're going to be a force to be reckoned with, more or less. Not to mention, you know, I work on technology. So like I'm working on pieces of work where I have to teach myself how to do certain type of coding to move millions of dollars. And it's not easy by any means necessary, but I always have to figure out root cause analysis. So on the spot, my job is to know exactly what's going on. And in the midst of me speaking to higher management, because there's $1 million at play, you have to teach yourself rather quickly to come up with an answer. Otherwise, that's your you know what. So you know, like all these type of things and situations that I challenge myself with, they help me produce in other ways. So if you're not challenging yourself, that doesn't necessarily mean you're not moving forward. But if you're going to put yourself in that situation, make sure that you're ready. That's the whole point of the escalator. If you're not ready, don't get on the damn steps. If you're ready, get on there and be able to take whatever's coming. Whether you fall, get back up. You know what I'm saying? You just got to be resilient, man, because you don't know. Anything can go any which way at any given time. It's just that you take a risk every day. So if you're going to take a risk, why not go to the fullest of where you feel comfortable? I feel comfortable where I'm at, but uncomfortable, but I feel uncomfortably comfortable, if that makes sense. Like I like to push myself to a higher limit that I've never reached before. Yeah. So if that's in you, do it. If it's not, work at a pace that's comfortable for you.
Yeah, Joe. Hey, man, you made a good point, man. I think you made some really let folks know. Really let folks know, man. So I'm gonna close out on this as we've been over time, because Joe, I mean, I definitely got things still that I like to share. We'll just go ahead and put that in the hindsight so we can get out there. But you know, one of the things, like I don't really need to watch like motivational videos as much as I used to, but they definitely serve a purpose. So there's there's one video that I watched. Is Denzel Washington, the actor. He's giving a speech at a commencement. I think I'm pretty sure it's a college, you know, commencement ceremony. And you know, he says this one thing, and I watched this video. I listened to it today, and he says this. I mean, it really sticks with me. And, you know, he said, you know, to get something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. And when we make these goals for ourselves, make these resolutions for ourselves, we have to be willing to go to a space to where we're uncomfortable, to where we are in a position where we have to, in order for us to find success and whatever that may be, you have to, and I'll expand on this when we do the hindsight. But you know, you really have to, you know, really find ways to we have to find new things. We have to find new avenues within ourselves. We have to find new things we're capable of doing to really reach the goals or whatever, you know, resolutions, whatever, you know, things you have for yourself. We have to find new things, because if you are looking at the date, and you're looking at like, hey, I want to save money, I want to do better, I want to do something for my family. There's something that you want to do, but you've continuously failed. You can't seem to get it done. Maybe you're on track for a week or two, maybe you're on track for a month, and it doesn't work. It's that whatever systems you have in place, whatever plans you've made for yourself to achieve these goals, they don't work. So you have to figure out the underlying issue, which we'll get into in another episode. But you have to figure out what it is that's actually going on, and you have to figure out something new. You have to figure out something that you haven't done before that is going to propel you to achieve the goal that you've set for yourself. And that's the thing, and that's the mentality that we all have to have. And I think Joe and I have. We have that mentality as far as figuring out certain things with how we can do business and the things that we're working on. You have to be open to that. You have to. I think we all have to be willing to understand that the way that we see things and the way that we've attempted to do things currently and the way that we've attempted to do things in the past, it's not working. So you have to figure out something else. And once we figure out what that something else is, then we can move on to getting where we maybe, we perhaps want to be. And then maybe that other thing we try doesn't work. And then we have to try something else, and then we just keep trying. Sometimes we keep reinventing the wheel until we figure out that solution. But, it's something that you have to come to terms with. There's a certain piece of us that has to accept that we're wrong. And we have to figure something else out. We have to grow. We have to expand. We have to figure it out.
And I'm glad you said that, because I'll openly admit that's my issue. I work so hard at things, I don't know when to quit. I think I'm cursed because of my last name in that regard. But the key to some of this stuff is knowing when to cut your losses and keep it moving forward. I struggle with that just because I feel like the way I work and the way I move and think, this gotta work. Like, this is the reason why I'm 100% in, because I know that this can happen. I know this can work. So when you have a mentality like that, it's really hard for you to let go of anything. And that's how I go into anything, whether it's a relationship, whether it's an occupation, whether it's me going to the gym, whatever I got going on. I honestly had the mentality of like, hey, I can make this happen. I can be successful in this in some way or some form. And when you realize that that might not be right now for you, that's usually the point where I struggle, because I don't know when to quit, because I feel like there's always another way or another solution where I can get around it. And that's just part of being an analytical about anything. That's analytical thinking, root cause analysis. That's just me. I'm a thinker. So there's a lot of flaws, and they definitely show in your progression in life where you have issues like these, and these be the things that tie you up from getting to where you need to be. But at the same time, this is the main reason why you're here and why you've gotten thus far. So sometimes you have to take that punch or that blow and realize like, hey, this is who I am. This is my genetic makeup. But that's still not going to stop me, because I know I'm far more productive in this manner. So I can take that blow or realize, hey, this is my weak point. The more you figure out that you're trying to get to that point, or the more you figure out about yourself, the easier it is for you to like move through that with no problems. So I just wanted to clarify that nobody's flawless out here, and especially not me. I'll be the first to tell you.
Yeah, so Joe, man, let's wrap this thing up, man. We definitely went over time.
Whatever, man. You started it.
I know, but yeah, we're gonna do a hindsight. We're gonna do a hindsight on this. I got a lot of stuff to share on this. I'm sure Joe will have some things as well. But it's a new year. I know that's the significance and the date changing and the numbers changing on the calendar may hold significance to some of you, and that's okay. You have to figure out a way to make that work you have to manipulate it pretty much to make it work in your favor. So we'll jump into this. We'll talk about it more in the hindsight. But thanks for listening. If you've set a New Year's resolution for yourself, and you've consistently failed at converting on it and really making it something that and really turning it into achievement, something you can be proud of. You really have to take the time and make an analysis of why it didn't work, and you might have to go in search of some answers, in search of in the process of finding some answers that will, put you on a direction to figuring out how you can, find success in the things that you want for yourself in that capacity. So, I'll close on that. We'll jump into it in hindsight a little bit more. But Joe, I'll let you wrap, man.
Hey man, I appreciate y'all for rocking with us. I appreciate for the new people that are listening too, man. Check out our older content. You will definitely find something that you can make out of it. I guarantee you. And if I'm lying, you can email me about it and I'll cash app you $1. But I highly doubt that's gonna happen. So with that happening, or with that being said per se, I hope y'all continue to be safe out here. And yeah, that's it.
All right. Peace.
Later.
Gapstone.